How you doing, guys? This is my review of the Netflix anime series, Blood of Zeus, season one. Right. So, in a sentence, quick context for watching this series. I'm a fan of Greek mythology to a fault. I admit the movies that aren't necessarily quality, but I like them so much. The original '80s Clash of the Titans, 2010 one, Disney's Hercules, the '90s Hercules series, so on and so forth. And then grew up reading Percy Jackson, the book series, which is partly based on Greek mythology, partly, a lot. And that's it. So I was excited for this series, right? And the world building is something that really caught my eye. But in a sentence, here's how I would define this show based on this first season. Given nuance to Greek mythology. What do I mean by that? First off, my favorite character in this entire series, Seraphim. He, to me, is the OG. Not because he does anything like spectacularly amazing. He doesn't even play someone that you're supposed to like. I'll put it that way. But to me, he's the true. I wouldn't say hero. How do I put this? His story, to me, his backstory is quite tragic. And the reason why I say that's an example of nuance is because you expect someone of his character, I'll just put it that way, to be someone who is only irredeemable and you can't redeem. But just displaying what he's been through alone is enough for me to see him as a three-dimensional character and understand that he's a survivor, which they point out explicitly in this series. He's a survivor, he's done what he's had to do, and in a way, he's a good example. Something that I like that they always explore in these stories is the fact that these Greek gods and goddesses, they are very emotional, right? They like to play and F with people for their own selfish ends. And when it comes to Seraphim's character, you really feel like he, again, has done some effed up stuff, effed up shit, but he's been enabled by so many people his entire life. He's been given tools, literal tools, also figurative tools to destroy himself even more. And it made me, I wouldn't even say sad, it just made me feel some type of way, like, oh no, that's kind of, yeah. I guess sad is the word, but I just like him as a character. Also, I love his weapon. I love he's the thumbnail for a reason on this video when you click on it, and I like him so much. He's a great example of that nuance to me, because you shouldn't like that character, but he's better than the actual main character Heron to me. Far better, and Zeus, in my opinion, in terms of storytelling. Secondly, another character that demonstrates the nuance that this storytelling is trying to do with Greek mythology, Hera. I really like with Hera that for the first time with a story about her, she really seems like just more than just a jaded woman or something like that. She really seems like someone who was rightfully. She is right to point out that she's been wronged more than once by Zeus. I won't say how, but if you read Greek mythology, I'm guessing you can make a safe guess if you haven't seen the series already. She stands by her husband, she stands by Olympus. She's clearly like the queen, and in her duties as the queen, she keeps that house in order. She helps keep that house in order. Probably in more ways than we know. We would probably appreciate her more if we saw that a bit. So when Zeus does things that violate certain, like the natural order of things, again, it hurts her obviously personally, but you're also messing with the kind of the established kind of status quo, I would say, right? She understandably is someone who's doing things just to point out to Zeus to make a point that no, without me, you wouldn't be taken seriously, and you need to fix up. Look sharp. I'm joking. uh, if you know the reference. And Zeus moves sideways a lot in this series, and she's right to point out that he's wrong. An issue I have with Hera when it comes to nuance, I wish they did a bit more of her to make her seem like she was going directly against Zeus, because something she does at the end by the end of the series, or something she's looking to do, and then she starts doing at the end of the series, tells me that they just wanted to make her seem sympathetic and nuanced to some degree, and then make her just a full villain, because they establish, without getting the spoilers, they establish that there's a bigger threat out there that the gods have encountered before, but in doing what she does in the end, it shows that she doesn't have the basic regard for the life of her fellow Olympians, and just for like the realm she's supposed to be the queen of, like a basic regard, which is that's a contradiction, right? I just said that she's someone who, they make it clear at the start of the series, I'm holding the ship down, I'm making sure that everything's tight, and Zeus, when you go against natural order things, you F up what we've built in this house, figuratively and literally. But something she does is a contradiction of that completely. You're putting your fellow Olympians in danger. I can't say how, but please watch the series. You'll get what I mean, and you know what I know if you've seen it already, so I don't need to say. They should have done more with that, and they made her just seem by the end like just a stereotypical villain, just like in the 90s Hercules series when she has the eyes and she's just like a trickster, scary woman. I don't like that. They should have worked a bit harder with her. Where I'll say like I dislike the series, those are the two things I like: Hera, Seraphim, and Hera. Those are the examples of the nuance. Also like the world building and the art as well. I'll say it's another third aspect. The animation, like the title cards for the first and second episode, and then episode 6 and 7. Whenever they show the title card Blood of Zeus, oh my god, I loved it. I heard the people who did Castlevania did this series. I watched like one episode of Castlevania. I may watch it now because of this show, just because of that. And I really like the art. I like the directions they go in, like mixing, showing the powers of the gods with anime, right? Anime style visuals. And I hope they do more with that, because I'd love to see more stuff from ancient times, as well as like the current periods with demigods, with the gods, with beasts and monsters and so on. Because that was really good for me. Like seeing Hermes do some stuff, Apollo, Ares. But that's as much as everything I like. World building, visuals, Hera, Seraphim. That's the stuff I like. The stuff that I took issue with was Zeus and Heron. Heron first and foremost. But I'll get to Zeus first. Zeus is another character who, yes, he's an example of nuance as well, because on the one hand, he's a guy who, he does some stupid stuff. He acts, if you've read Greek mythology, he acts like Zeus stereotypically acts to some degree. But I said to some degree, right? That was my issue with him. My issue with him was that I wish they went even further with his acts of, I don't know how to put this. Actually, yeah, you know what? I can say it. With his acts of unfaithfulness and his acts of just being kind of a loose guy. Like you're a bit of a hoe, and it shows because he has several. They mention, oh, this is the so and so, this is the umpteenth um, offspring you've sired. Like, how do you keep doing this with different women? Zeus does that, and it to me shows that he's not a perfect guy, but he's also just like a bit of a selfish person. So my issue with him is that they make him at times seem like the exact opposite of that through his relationship with Heron. But I'm not convinced of it personally because it just felt like there was something missing with his character. It felt like he seems too nice to behave the way he's behaved in the past. But I guess that's the point of his character, that you're supposed to be reminded of his humanity because that's how humans are. Humans can be very good people, but they still do effed up things behind the scenes, and that's what Zeus was. So I guess though that is technically a good thing that I feel that way, but I don't know. I feel like they could have gone more in the direction of like just a bad kind of dude that is a god and his is a lesser of I don't want to say two evils. He's a he's not as bad as some other things before him that have come, but he's still not a great character. I would have preferred that they went in that direction because Hera just ended up seeming like the real villain when she shouldn't have, in my opinion. They should have all seemed 50-50, and I didn't feel like they all seemed that way. Zeus seemed more sympathetic than her by design just because he is the father of the main character. Now, I'm not a fan of that. Lastly, Heron, right? Heron, to me, by far is the most boring character in the series. He's meant to be the main character. He's so boring, in my opinion. Seraphim is, I'm guessing, the effects that Seraphim had on me is what they were trying to do with Heron. And I'm sure for many people, Heron was a character that people loved. I'm not one of those guys. Like, I even don't want to spoil it. Seraphim is better than you. Better written character, more depth to him. Even Alexia, even though they didn't give her a lot to do, I feel like they deliberately wasted potential storytelling with her because she had no powers, but she was still putting in work. There was wasted potential with her character that I bet they took out of like kind of the storyboarding and any plans to give more time to you, and you just had a basic arc. Even like the way they were trying to do some callback where, oh, look inside you, Heron, you can do this. I was saying to myself, what does this have to do with him being an amazing fighter? Yeah, you have anger issues, but you don't seem that. It doesn't seem that distinct in terms of fulfilling an arc, in my personal opinion. I don't know. They don't. It doesn't strike me like they did the best they could with him, and they made him as interesting as they intended to. Because in my opinion, he was just sour. He was just sour grapes. It was just no. It wasn't terrible, but he's just you're plain toast, which I like. But I guess how would I put it? You're just you're stale bread. I say that you're stale bread. That's what Heron is, and he's supposed to be the main character. He's on the posters of some of these advertisements, but I don't care for you. So I hope for the next season, he has no involvement or very little, and I hope Seraphim. I know Seraphim's gonna have some. Seraphim has a lot more involvement, and Alexia too, and Hera as well. I hope they have a lot more involvement. Speaking of nuance, so lastly I'll say the plot twist at the end, as far as Seraphim's character and other characters and a certain other character involved with him, you can argue on the one hand that that did surprise me, but then I thought about it and I thought, oh, that's very stereotypical, and I wish they didn't do that with the character I'm thinking of, because if you watch the show, you know this character. I feel like because in a Western context, he's seen as just evil by default, but there's also complexity to him, and I hope they make the character that's connected with Seraphim at the very end more nuanced as well, if they explore him in a second season, which I'm sure they will. But they yeah, I was disappointed the more I thought about that plot twist. So other than that, those are my thoughts, guys. I really like the series. I did think overall it brought that nuanced storytelling to Greek mythology to make it more accessible for a casual fan as opposed to like a hardcore fanboy. Love Seraphim, liked Terra, liked the world building, some of the other characters, Alexia, Elios, Kofi. I don't like Heron. Please do not include him in season 2. And I thought Zeus was cool, but I thought they could have like juggled like the good and the bad a bit more of him too. And that's it. Tell me what you think down below. Press that thumbs up button if you like this video. Feel free to check out some of my other videos. Press that subscribe button. You'll get more content. Other than that, signing off. Salute.